I'm feeling a lot of seasons right now. Now, that's kind of a weird one off comment. It doesn't really make much sense when I say it in a little vacuum where, what are you talking about? What does that even mean? I'm not talking about about the actual seasons of change that human beings go through because, seasons are on a lot of people's mind because, fall is the talk of the town right now. There's pumpkins everywhere, there's Halloween decorations like crazy. Thanksgiving will be coming up. Everyone's thinking about fall because fall is a very potent season. You see a lot of it like crammed in because you can sell a lot of it. Fall is a big money-making holiday. It's kind of, everyone thinks of Christmas, the holiday season, as being more of like December, late November, that really big rush, maybe even Black Friday thrown in there of like, how can I sell as much stuff as possible? Everybody thinks about that, Christmas is the big moneymaker. But fall is really where you can kind of slip in and get a little bit of extra money, seemingly unknowingly, because fall is more about vibes and stuff. Summer, it's a little obvious. You got to try a little bit harder because there's a lot of summer activities, but you can make a huge amount of money if you're selling the right thing, like selling a bunch of pool floats, selling a bunch of like summer drinks, stuff like that. Spring, I don't feel like spring brings in that much cash. I mean, you might have Easter, you might have little pockets, but spring might be a downturn. At least that's kind of how I view all the seasons. But I'm not talking about those seasons today. Obviously, I'm bringing up those seasons because that's what everyone thinks of, right? And they're a good small analogy, like in a small part, because you can see how different those seasons are from each other. You can see how people look at it a different way, whether it's about making money, whether it's about the vibes, whether it's about your memories with it. They're very distinct. They're very segmented to where we can just kind of have some separation. And we like to be able to kind of delineate where we are. We like to delineate progress. And that's more of the seasons I'm thinking about. Seasons as a concept kind of stand for where we are in the journey of a year, but seasons personally can be very, very, very different. And that kind of means that there's seasons of progress. There's all these buzzwords that people bring about, but what I'm really thinking of is, how deep along your process are you? There might be a season of a week where you are just like not in it, where you just go to the gym and you are not locked in. I was in the computer lab over this weekend working on a program, and this girl was talking to one of her friends and being like, do you just have those days in the gym where you just like, you're not on it? You just go and you just feel like everything you're doing is bad. And she didn't know that I was sitting there eavesdropping, like the gym YouTuber I am. But like, I thought it was interesting, because she's totally right. There are those days where you're just completely tapped out. There are those days where you're just like loss of motivation, loss of energy, and you're just in a downward season. I mean, straight up, there are seasons where I don't want to get up, and sometimes that prolongs for like 3 weeks where like there's no motivation to get up and get after it. And that's not even a bad thing about the gym. Like, the gym is not always, I guess, helplessly exciting. It's not always like drawing you in every single second. It's not always this, monstrous building where it's just like sucking you in, like, I can't wait to get huge, and then you're like all in. It's not how it is. It might be how it's glorified online, but the reality is, you lifting heavy weights a lot of days of the week, you're gonna, spend a decent amount of time in the gym. It's not that long in the grand scheme of things, but it's long enough to, build a personal connection to it. So you're gonna like the gym, but I can't tell you that the gym is constantly going to give you an ultimate reason to step in every single day. I mean, day in, day out. It's not something that, levels your excuses. If you provide excuses, it's not going to stop you from using that to not go. But I think something I saw the other day that's very interesting is it was this guy taking a very like bold, staunch stance. He was like, "There's never been a day that I've gone to the gym and regretted it." He's like, "There's never been a day that I dragged myself to the gym and regretted it," and I didn't know whether to agree with that because I feel like he's right in a way. I think that's kind of crazy to say, especially how I talk about, how like the harsh stances online aren't always the reality. But I feel like in my experience, there's been days like that where, I've been able to go and push through a workout, and I don't really think that it's a negative thing for me. And he also admitted, like, he's not talking about when he goes and he accidentally gets sick, when he's like actually sick, or when he like injures a part of himself, like not that type of pushing through, but like pushing through, like feeling so like I don't really feel like going, and then he goes anyways. Like, I kind of feel like I agree in a small way, just because being able to push through that stuff allows you to build discipline. I always say that it's not about motivation or discipline, but in the small ways that you can build discipline, wouldn't you rather have discipline than not have it? And that discipline sometimes can be thinking about that idea that sometimes, you don't regret going to the gym. And then you think about it and you're like, I don't think I've ever regretted going to the gym on a day where I didn't necessarily feel like going, but I felt better after I left the workout. And I agree with that, but then I was thinking, that girl in the computer lab, she might not agree. So I'm very interested. Tell me how you feel about that question about whether going to the gym has ever made you feel bad after you were like, I don't really feel like going. Tell me, because I'm very interested. But yeah, chest day today. A lot of yapping about seasons. I think it's a good season to pursue a pretty heavy chest day. I hit it last week about this time, but I'm kind of switching to position chest more in the beginning of the week, so I can kind of progress kind of a normal standard throughout the week. Okay, so pretty good isolationist. Is that a word? Isolationist? Maybe? I don't even know. I'm just going to restart that sentence. Pretty good isolated movements when I do tricep extension, and kind of do it what I've been doing, 62 and a half for 12 reps, and focusing just on like tilting and really loading up as much stress as possible. I feel like it's a great warm-up, like I've been saying, but B, it just is something that just really pumps me up, like digging deep and then feeling like a burning sensation, and then just the drive of like yanking it all the way up. It's kind of something that pumps you up, just kind of like just like pushing hard, and then you're ready, to like go ahead and conquer chest, because like your arms are very subtly warmed up, but in a way your triceps get a good pump, and then it sets you up for tricep dips later. So all that to say, I'm pretty happy with my plan as it is. I'm pretty happy with the weight as it is. So I'm just going to do another set this week, kind of balancing it out, keeping things moving, but keeping things like under control, not trying to skyrocket my progress. Ooh, definitely digging deep on that. But hey, that was like very slow and under control. That is the type of move you want, especially for a first set on the workout. Okay, second set, just kind of want to replicate that, maybe a bit faster in the movement. Second set, triceps are already warmed up. It's easier to kind of get a good pump in, like focusing, like getting deeper on the reps. So I don't really have any reservations about how second set will go. But It's just about maintaining that speed, maintaining that level, and then, keeping the isolation really good. Okay, pretty good on that. Not really much more to talk about, just one more set and controlling that the same way as before. So I really think my journey with bench has been just a big journey. Oh, those back pops are good. I really think that with bench, it's been something that I've had to have a heavy level of control on, and it's definitely gone up and down throughout the years, or I'll say throughout the seasons, since that's kind of what this video is themed around. But for bench, I just want it to be progress that I can reasonably handle, that I can reasonably control. And so I'm staging it kind of in a similar light to triceps, where I'm focusing on just kind of doing the same thing I did last time, but maybe adding one more rep to my top set. So I think next set will be my top set with 185. I'm going to try to add one more rep to that and then make everything pretty much the same. So that means 175 for 8 is the starting warm-up set, and it's just going to be very, very focused, very controlled, and touching all the way down and just pushing out, really focusing on my breath to train that, and then train my control before I move on to top set. Okay, pretty decently moving that. I don't think there was a lot of problems with that. Working with 185 might be a little bit different, but 175, I think that's good to have kind of a medium rest set. This weight seems like a lot for me now, in terms of bench press, especially compared to what I've been doing, where I went for kind of higher reps with only 165 and stuff. So it seems a lot different, but I want to go ahead and address the concern because, I used to have a lot of friends ask me, especially starting out, I would do more high rep exercise and I would do less kind of max outs and stuff. And people would ask me you can get way more than this, right? If you dropped it to 4 reps, to 6 reps, you could really go balls to the wall and really get crazy max outs. And I would always say, yeah, maybe you're right. But what I've observed and what I feel like I've retained through doing high rep exercise, especially on something like a heavy compound movement, doing 4 sets of bench, 4 sets of squat, going, deep form, trying not to ego lift as much as possible, is that you retain the ability to go that far. I mean, if you're training something for 15 reps, obviously, if you go a little bit higher, you can get it for 12. But if you're only training max outs and you're only doing like 4 crazy hard reps, when you go to try and do like 8 reps of something that maybe is like only 20 pounds lighter, you don't have the muscle memory or the endurance enough to go even to 8, which doesn't seem like that high of a jump, but your muscles, like, if you're not training high reps, every now and then, you're going to lose the ability to do it. And I've seen it. I've experienced it firsthand. I feel like not a lot of people take into consideration the idea that you might be able to lose the ability to, go heavier with higher reps. I feel like 185 is decent weight for me to go, heavier with higher reps. So let's see how it looks like. Okay, only got 5 reps. I really would like 3 more, so I'm going to take a slight pause before I go on to the next 3. Okay, 8 reps. More than last time. Happy with that, happy with that. I'm going to try to gun one more, maybe get 7 out of it. Okay, I gotta pump myself up big time. I gotta pump myself up, put my elbows up to be able to take the level of strain of 185, gunning for that was a top set, going for 8, but I still needed a pause. Can I get 7 without pause if I know I can get 8 with like a small pause? If I can really dig deep, if I can really focus on like pushing past, because, I think maybe including the pause is a fear of me being like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to hit failure. I don't know if I'm going to have to roll this bar off of me and hit the camera potentially. But I don't really think that's like a huge concern as much, because I know I can get it. I know it's just like sitting like a reservoir in the tank of like my reps. I can at least get 6, and that's the benchmark. But can I get 1 more? Can I go for 7? I don't think I'm gonna put any like rest time in between this one. When I end is when I end, and I'm gonna try to push past failure. Okay, shame that I couldn't walk out that last rep. I really, really thought I had it, but that's okay. I can't say I didn't try with 175 gunning for that 7th rep, but that, at least that means I have a spot to improve upon next time. I have my body getting used to that weight, and I added 1 rep to what I'm doing. I know my max here is, the rise up from 175, 185, 185, and now dropping down to 165 for kind of like a cool down set. I know where that limit is, and I know that I can kind of train around that. Okay, 8 solid reps with that. I think that's a good calling place for the rest of bench. Happy with that as it is for now. Okay, incline dumbbell press is one of the movements that went spectacularly well last week when I did it. It really was moving to a degree that I did not anticipate, but that means that this week the standards are higher. So 60 for 11 reps, all 3 sets, is at least the benchmark. I'm going to try to get 12 reps for this first set because I feel like it's doable, only adding 1 more rep. And seeing as how that's, about as much as I could do for bench adding on, I think that's a good place to, keep it. Adding 1 more rep, going back to kind of the roots of what I did a lot last year, which is just only focusing on 1 more added rep, and I think that's able to be managed, that's been able to be managed effectively. But we just got to see how the weight is talking to me today. Okay, well, 12 reps is doable. A lot of strain there at the end. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get the last rep up, but hey, it's there. So now I'm going to be moving 11 reps the rest of the time. So incline dumbbell press is a movement that I've seen people go incredibly heavy on, and I'm wondering, what's the craziest movement you've seen somebody do? Because I feel like I've seen the dudes that look kind of like 45-year-old dudes come into the gym, nothing really special, kind of a bit of a dad bod, but strong arms. They definitely work out from time to time, but these are the type that are going to do 10 sets of like a 135 squat, just doing it over and over and over. No, these dudes are here to impress some little kids, make some gym newbies scared. They get on a bench and I'm talking like 110-pound dumbbells on an incline dumbbell bench press, something I don't know if I will ever be able to achieve. I mean, especially as a lifetime natural, I don't know if that really is ever in the cards for me, but these dudes come in, they do 2 sets of it, rocking out like 12 reps. This is a weight that they can handle. This is a weight that they're pushing. They're grunting, they're using all their force. They have 2 spotters on either side, but they are going crazy. And they set it down, take a sip of water, maybe do like 2 more exercises, and they call it a day. It is I can't even call it ego lifting because they manage it effectively. They're not going for 3 reps of showing off. They really are getting a high intensity, low volume type of workout, but I don't know. There's a certain kind of respect for it. So let me know what is the craziest weight you've seen someone do, and I'm going to try to manage my own form of crazy weight. Maybe not as flashy, but 60s. It's nothing to sneeze at. Okay. Whew. 11. 11. I mean, not much to say. It's looking pretty good. I think my body is getting used to having a lot of pressing movements, whereas that was not really the case before. But it's not looking bad. It's not looking bad at all, honestly. All right, one more set of this. Felt like the first two sets were looking like really, really good. So I don't really have huge plan altering changes looking forward to next set. I really just want to kind of like manage 11 all the way up and down. I think really focusing on kind of like keeping my arms even. That's what I've been trying to do. I've been trying to like, I'm not gonna hold it. I've been trying to like kind of manage an even push so I'm not like kind of tilting either to one side when I'm doing it, because sometimes my right arm might overtake and I might tilt my body a little bit to the right to kind of push up and then kind of like rock over to the left. I really want to kind of get like an even stretch when I'm doing it, so I'm not like, I mean, that could be part of what's causing an unevenness in my bench, because I want to have my bench, especially flat bench, when you're not going to be able to rock at all, just be able to like completely push through all the way up. That's what's going to get like the most even strain on your chest. And on upper chest, that's very important, because if I'm balancing it with how strong my middle chest is, then I need to make sure I'm pushing it upwards evenly. So one more set of this, one more set of the 60s for 11. Oh, right arm gave on that. Only two more reps. I feel like I can keep my right arm stable. There we go. I don't really know where my right elbow gave out on that one, but you never want to see that. You never want to see the danger kind of flood that part of the workout. So doing a lot of pressing movements just based on the availability of the machines right now, but I loaded a little bit more on than last time. Last time I was managing a plate on either side. This time I'm managing a plate and a 5. I don't think it should be crazy difference, but we'll see. Okay, that was decent. That was actually pretty good. Might want to get it a little bit higher on my chest, but I think that's good for now. Okay, very small rest period, but I got some water. Want to stay hydrated in the middle of this lift. Gonna line up a little bit better this time. Focus on getting the lineup correct, so it's like directly onto my lower pecs. Kind of add a little bit of an arch, and then just go crazy. Oh man, that took a lot of breathing. Fall out of that rep completely. Jeez, I'm liking that strain. Okay, only one more set of this. and then one more pressing movement in general. After I lock this out, I'm going to transition next to tricep dips, and then we'll do incline chest, and then that'll be in the end of the workout. My elbows certainly are pretty tired. My entire body is just, I don't know, getting used to those pressing movements. I'm actually pretty happy with my progress, even with a failed bench set. I don't think it's crazy to say that this has been a good workout so far, especially progress-wise. Only working one rep, only focusing on just getting a little bit better with each thing. I think that's been good for me. Okay. Whew. That's a slam dunk in terms of complete thorough reps with that decline chest. Probably could do a little bit more, but for now, keeping the plate and the 2.5 on each side, that's good progress. I like it. I'm going to kind of try to recompose my thoughts before I go into these last 2 exercises. So I got to check my log completely to know what the target goal of tricep dips is. Pretty sure. Yeah, okay. So I have 16 reps, and 15 reps. But I know last time that I managed 16 reps kind of very aggressively, very, very aggressively. But now that I have 16 reps for all 3 sets, that's kind of going to be the target, at least for the next 3 to 4 workouts. It's going to be working towards getting all of those 16 reps. So I think, I don't know. I don't know what the sets are going to look like. I think mainly the goal is to just kind of get it completely and throughout, like composed all the way down, stretching tricep all the way out. Like I said earlier, tricep is already pre-stretched, especially from all the stuff I've been doing. Even my lower chest is kind of pre-stretched. So I'm going into this with a little bit of fatigue, but I think it's something I can manage. So let's see, tricep dips, running all the way, 16 reps. Four more. Okay, very, very strained. I think the lower chest wasn't doing me any favors having that press come before, but that's okay. I think tricep reps just gonna have to be very, very strained today. I think in general, tricep dips are one of those movements that people hate to do. And I can't say I don't know why. I do. It's taken me a long time to kind of get used to what part of my body is actually getting activated by tricep dips, and really feel the isolation just kind of like throughout my tricep. And that's because it's a body weight movement. A lot of people hate body weight movements, especially if you're a beginner, especially if you're going from like a larger body mass, kind of like lowering your BMI. Like if you're a skinny dude, of course you're gonna love tricep dips because you're not moving a bunch of weight. You're gonna have to do it weighted to really feel the strain that someone who's about 70 pounds heavier is feeling. Like it's a huge difference. And you know, body weight is not everyone's cup of tea, but I think body weight is very, very good because like, if you're a real lifter, you know people with heavier body weight that are like managing body weight exercises, they're doing a lot of weight. They're doing weight that you're probably doing. I mean, especially for me, I'm not a huge guy. Doing tricep dips for like 16 is a crazy amount for someone who's more like 225 pounds. Even a lean 225 pounds doing tricep dips is like crazy, absolutely crazy. But in my case, I kind of do these and try to do a lot of them and try to put a bunch of stress on myself because, you know, I'm not pushing as much heavy weight. And I think a lot of people hate it just because body weight is hard. If you're not used to body weight, it's going to take a long time. It's not going to be gratifying at all, especially not instant gratification. It's going to be a long time of reaching that gratification. But I think over the years, I've just grown accustomed more so to tricep dips because I'm waiting for that delayed gratification to kind of sink in. And I know that like doing high reps is going to be beneficial for me. It's going to be beneficial for the power of my triceps, and it's going to be beneficial for those pressing movements when I have tricep power kind of flowing behind it. So, one more. Okay, two more deep reps. Okay. Whew. Oh man. Need good rest on that. It's going to be hard to kind of press incline going forward, but those are monstrous reps. Okay, decently long rest period. Felt like I needed to grant myself a slight break, get a little bit more air flowing through me, a little bit more rest into my triceps, but I want to hit this hard. For last set, making 16 reps all the way throughout. Just, I don't know, to make things even, I feel like it's easier if I just push all the way throughout. I want to make sure that 16 reps is, moving well. So that means managing them for a long time, managing them without any mistakes, without any breaks for a while. And that's going to take a minute. But I just want to push through as much as possible. And I think giving an advanced rest period to kind of bring myself up to speed, that's going to help out. So last set of these. Okay. 16 reps. Very, very strained. Kept clipping my feet. I want to get one super slowed and controlled rep at the very end. Okay. That's good. 16 reps. Needs a lot more finesse, a lot more control. But that's a good place to stop for now. Now, with how good incline dumbbell has been going, it's only natural to want you to get really, really good reps with incline barbell bench press. But for some reason, there's a bit of difference. There's a bit of difference even between switching from barbell to dumbbell. Dumbbell, you get a lot of little controls. A lot of little control, a lot better. And with barbell, it's a lot, the even distribution of weight kind of differs the exercise a lot. I know that might not make a lot of sense, but really it's just this is what it is, without speaking in lifting terms. You can move your arm a lot more freely when you have dumbbells. You can kind of fail easier, you can drop out of weights a lot easier, you have little things helping control that. But you don't get as clear cut, as clear isolation on your chest as you do with barbell. That's why having both and pumping more volume into my upper chest is going to be really good for growing it, because I'm going to be able to get crazy weight pushed on it, which is going to help crazier pumps with it. And then when I get more even distribution with this, it's going to help with just keeping stable. And I think already you can see with some of my last few exercises of incline dumbbell press, it's gotten a lot more controlled since I've been doing this on top of it. So I think they're good pairings to each other. I think especially if you're trying to grow your upper chest, they're important. But I have basically the same weight that I do I have 115 loaded on here. And normally, combining the 60s, it's 120. So pretty even weight, only 5 pounds of difference, but still going to be pretty hard. Okay. Couldn't quite get the eighth rep. That's kind of mildly disappointing. Mildly disappointing. I think my body might be pressed out for the day, but maybe it was just, I don't know. I'm going to keep going. All right. So, didn't go how I wanted first set, but this set I'm going to kind of like set the mic to the side and not really focus on capturing the audio, just mainly focus on like going extremely hard. And don't worry, I've seen the comments. I've seen the comments of like, if you're recording, isn't that going to affect your progress? Not really, not all the time. Actually, it makes me a little bit more focused because I'm not listening to music. I'm not tuning out of a workout. I'm always kind of in sync with what my body's doing, where it's failing, what is going on. It helps me focus a little bit more if I have like silence around me rather than music blaring. The only time I use music blaring is to get me through cardio. But in terms of like focus, I'm usually pretty good. But if I'm trying to make sure the mic isn't smashed, it might distract me a little bit with this. So less about prioritizing the recording this time, more about just trying to go like extremely hard with it. Ooh, almost hit a wall there on that seventh rep. Like right as I went down for the eighth, I like pushed past, and right when I got halfway, I was like, oh crap, push, and I got it all the way. Very, very happy with it. Only one more left, and then we'll kind of talk it out. Okay, all I need is a little bit more strength. All I need is to push past that little bit of wall. Got a good drink of water, and I think just really controlling my breathing, keeping here. 115 is a good place for me to settle. I think the even distribution across my upper chest is working really well. Even if I didn't get that first set, I think just gunning this last set is really going to help out. It's been a good workout so far. It's been a good chest day. I think it's really gotten me ready for the day really well, and I'm just ready. Locked in and gonna push hard to get as much schoolwork done today as possible. You could see it, all right? It came out on video. Oh man, that was. It's always like the fear. It's always the scary reps where like you're twinging, like that left elbow was like whoa, and then my whole body just goes into like the system shock, where it's like we have to get this up. We cannot have a third set today throughout this whole workout where you're dropping weight. We just cannot have it, and that's what pushes me through to that eighth rep. That's what really gets me going. That was good. That's a good work. I think that's a perfect stopping place to have a good talk. So, lots of failure today. Like I said, lots and lots of dropped reps today, which means that I didn't quite stack up to my expectations. And I kind of want to think about that in the context of seasons, of what I was talking about at the very beginning, tying things back. It really has to do with what you are bringing to a workout, because I kind of want to introduce a point that I felt like I neglected to talk about earlier before I go to class, which is the idea that, obviously I talked about, if you don't want to go, that really affects things. But if you have a feeling in the gym of like, I'm not making progress, if you have the feeling of why don't I just stop, there's never really been a feeling for someone super into the gym, for someone who makes it a lifelong dedication, where distinctly you're like, I want to stop this. But there are mornings where that creeping feeling of I could stop is in the back of your mind. I'm reminded of a quote that I read in a book one time. I'm forgetting which book this is, but the quote really like stuck with me. It was really profound. It was saying, "No promise is ever unbreakable," and that's just one of the laws of the universe. And I'm paraphrasing kind of, but I remember distinctly that sentence: "No promise is unbreakable," and that's so true. That's so true. Not enough people realize that. As human beings, we get tied so much into emotional understandings. Even if you're the most rational person on earth, there's those little tips, there's those little, facets of your life that if someone touches upon, your emotions rise. Even if you can tone them down, even if you can think logically, if you can think pragmatically about like a situation, there's an emotional tie in all of us that can be raised. Always. There's always something that gets us going. And for people, I feel like, who are more sure of themselves, they tap into that emotional side more. I used to, neglect emotions. I feel like a lot of men are taught to do so. You're taught that emotions aren't something that you can work with or work through or even build a relationship with. You're taught to just kind of let emotions be this thing that, yeah, they exist, but not for me. And they're thrown to the side. But kind of what I've realized and what I've grown up knowing, and that I feel like I know a lot more than maybe some other people my age that I've witnessed, is that emotions are just the yin to like a more logical thinking's yang. You have to have emotions to balance things out, and emotions can actually propel you towards more success. If you're an emotionally balanced creature, that's very attractive. That's very powerful, and that can get you into a place that you would have never seen before, because balancing your emotions is incredibly important. And if you leave that by the wayside and just don't even think about emotions, well, here's what's going to happen. You'll turn into like an angry, sad, or like completely overtaken beast where, yeah, you're not thinking about emotions, but you're just letting them ride. So you're going to be like high emotions all the time, but you're not going to be thinking about it. So you're going to hurt others around you. Or B, you turn into an emotionless husk. Why would you ever want to like improve in life if you're just sitting there not feeling anything? If you feel nothing, you're not going to be driven to go get anything. That's how it is. I'm driven by emotions when I'm lifting. I'm driven by the emotions, once I get into the gym. I'm sticking with that stance. I've never regretted it because my emotions kick in the gym. When I go to the gym, I'm like right before that set, when I'm gripping the bar, all these emotions are flurrying out. They're rushing out of my system. They're kicking in, the endorphins flowing through my body. That's like the happiness. That's the good part of exercise. Is that all this stuff like kicks on. It's like your engine is just being ignited and you're just ready. You're locked in and you're just going to go get whatever weight you get. Obviously today, I went after weight and I couldn't achieve it. But you know what? It doesn't really matter what I achieved with the weight today. The point wasn't really how much weight I lifted. That's more where ego comes in. That's where emotions can rule over you and why people fear emotions. They don't want to be, egotistical creatures. But if you realize that ego is something that can help you towards success, you have to take the good with the bad. Society builds up the worst stories about certain emotional parts of us. It frames ego as being worse than being like, sensitive and realizing your limits. But honestly, they're both equal. There's an equal relationship between all these different emotions. In one moment, you might feel it more than the other. In destructive moments, you might need to tone one down more than the other. But in the whole scheme of things, in the whole scheme of your mental, like I like to just dissect a lot on this channel, you need to have all these different emotions. I mean, freaking watch Inside Out. Watch any like child's, like psychology esque, like under themed piece of media. And that's what they'll tell you. You have to take the good with the bad. You can't nullify or mute one emotion over the other, because it just leads to catastrophe, straight up. And so the gym doesn't really seem like an emotional place. From the outside, it seems like a bunch of meatheads turning their brains off and just going and moving heavy pieces of metal, of iron, of rock. Whatever misconception or preconception that people that aren't in the gym have of exercise inside of a gym, weightlifting specifically, let's just go ahead and call it how it is, weightlifting specifically, there's this idea that gets formed that's unlike anything else, because it's not understood that it really is emotional connection. When you're knowing your body, when you're realizing your body, you're actually very much so getting in tune with your mentality. You're very much so realizing who you are in a sense. Sorry, my ice is kind of distracting me from this rant. But what I'm getting to is that with these seasons, you have to realize and be attuned to your body to know that seasons affect you too. If it's cold outside, there's going to be days when you don't want to lift. And no promise is unbreakable. Your promise to be a lifelong advocate of the gym, of being a healthy and stronger person mentally and physically, it's not unbreakable. There's not a clear path that you could break that promise. Even in my case, like, I could break the promise. I could stop making videos tomorrow, and it really wouldn't change that much. It wouldn't change that much in your lives. It wouldn't, it would change a lot in my life just based on how I've connected to YouTube. But in the grand scheme of things, I can move on to something different. And that's just how it is. Nothing is defining to you. One lift where I don't lift up to my standards doesn't define my progress in the gym. One bad test score doesn't define, my college success. One bad moment, one broken friendship, one argument doesn't define how you can ameliorate, who you want to be and how you want to have a relationship with a person. You will break people's hearts. You will break people's mentalities. You will be a terrible person. The question becomes, how do you live with being a bad person? How do you live with being a person that's not going to achieve everything you want to do? Another quote that I'll just say, kind of to leave you with some thoughts here at the end, to kind of mull over on your own, is that, good people and bad people have the same goals. So it's not the goals that separate good people, bad people, winners, losers, successful people, unsuccessful people, balanced emotional people, balanced, good mentality, good mental health driven people versus people who are in a really, really, really low position. It's not the goals that separate that person. It's straight up action. It's straight up what you go do. And so if you find yourself not wanting to go to the gym, maybe showing up before you're ready is the best thing that you could possibly do. Showing up when you don't want to be there could be the best thing that you could possibly do. That's a lot of deep, heavy thoughts today, but I'm thinking that's a good way to get me moving. I might post this video earlier just to kind of get those things driven in your head earlier. I really hope you enjoyed this video. This was a really fun one to make, and I'm happy with these thoughts, and I'm happy with the lift today, even if it didn't meet my standards, because like I said, it's not about those standards. It's about me showing up and proving that consistency. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.